Good morning, guys. I am currently working on fixing the links that are up on the blog. I'm not entirely sure why it was doing that, but nothing like a little bit of excitement first thing in the morning. So, trying to fix that. Really not sure why that didn't work. I went onto the live streaming page. I always set up the live stream well before I go live. I usually set it up the night before, and then schedule everything to go out at the appropriate time. And for whatever reason, when I logged back onto YouTube this morning, the live stream was just not there. It just wasn't on my account, which is very strange. And yeah, not sure why that was working. Oh, dang it. Okay, undo. Let me fix this. Okay. So I don't actually have the window open right now. I'm working on a different one. I wish I had two monitors, but alas, I have no such luck when it comes to that. Oh, fun. I turned somehow all of it into a link over here. What joy. Okay, let me. Some days are just not the day, yeah? Okay. Can we edit this? I do not want. I'm going to copy that. Cancel. Edit. Remove link. Okay. There we go. Now we add a link. Okay. Let's preview. Make sure that looks right. Yeah. There we go. Update that. And let me steal the code from here. I know just enough coding to be dangerous, which can sometimes get me into trouble. Why is it doing it again? What the heck, guys? Copy. Paste. Why is it acting like the whole thing? I don't understand. Oh my goodness, this is so weird. Okay. No, I don't want to stop that. Copy. This just totally worked today. I'm not entirely sure why. There. I believe I have fixed it. Yes. Okay. There we go. Okay. Now you get a peek behind the screen of what it's like when Miss Galloway is trying to get all of these posts up and ready for you guys. Do I trust it? Cancel. Update. Okay. All right. So there are two of you watching me do nonsensical things there. So there we go. How we doing this morning? Aside from watching me mess around to try to get the live stream up and running appropriately. So who's out there this morning? I hope you're having a good day so far. It's quite beautiful. Hey, Alani, how are you? Missed you yesterday. Hope everything's going well. So, today is April 21st. It is a Tuesday. Just tired for some reason? You're allowed to be tired, kid. Yeah. I was okay-ish yesterday. Yeah. Um, Last week was really hard for me. I was not feeling great. Um, Part of that was because I had terrible, terrible migraine for part of the week for about 3 days. And then I got sick on Thursday night, and that was miserable. I haven't been that sick in years. Not COVID, though, just stomach stuff. So let's see here. Honors World History today. Yesterday, I spent a lot of time outside, and the pollen got to me because I was silly and did not take my allergy meds. Honors World History today is going to be working on some stuff with regards to the Enlightenment, because tomorrow y'all have your Unit 8 assessment, which is going to be in the form of an online quiz. It will have some short answer questions for you, though. So I am, in fact, going to ask you to think about stuff. And then on Thursday, we are going to start dun, 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 Age of Revolutions, which I adore talking about, which AP Comp people already know because I like talking about political violence, which sounds weird and probably is. AP Comp people, today you guys are going to be doing a little bit of work on the Mexican political economy. I've really cut that down by a heck of a lot. And hey, Alani, since you're hanging out here, and anybody else who is out there hanging out, just give me a yay or nay on this. Normally, I do a little, as part of political economy, I talk about the informal economy, which also involves cartels. Because political economy isn't going to be accounted for in the AP exam this time around, and because basically the material that really would connect to cartel work is not going to be accounted on the exam. And yet I feel like a lot of people might be really interested in that topic. If I were to put up just kind of an enrichment lesson just for funsies up on the blog on Friday, something that had no work associated with it, was just me kind of going over the topic. Do you think anyone would be interested on that? Because I don't want to record the video lectures if like nobody's going to watch them. But I know some people are really interested in that. And if you are, then I would be happy to do it because I have the material, already collected. So it's not like I have to do a great deal of research or anything about it. The time and effort on my end is recording the videos and then uploading them to YouTube. But if you think people might be interested in that, then I'd be willing to do it. I might do a bit of a poll up on the blog tomorrow, just to see if anybody is interested in it. But yeah, that's the material for this week, because tomorrow you guys are going to do a Flipgrid Harkness. So you guys are going to need to have read the material on the Zapatistas and on NAFTA/UNCA. So actually today's work should kind of help you on that a little bit, in terms of giving you some sort of background on it. So what you up to today, Alani? You're interested? Okay. I'll send a poll out to the class just to see. So what do you have to work on today, kiddo? Finish up schoolwork, make a dungeon map in Roll20. What other schoolwork have you got aside from my class? What else are you working on? Econ, physics, calculus, art. Whew. Those are some big ones. I bet the art class is a bit of a relief, yeah, to give you a little bit of creative outlet right now. What do you have to do in your art class today? Are they doing like, because you were the one who was talking about how they were giving you like weird mashups of things to draw, right? So yesterday I was taking more requests in terms of sketches, and here's what some people requested. Yeah, the daily prompts. Yeah. So yesterday Jada wanted me to draw what did she say? A robot and an alien riding a unicorn. And like, I got to tell you, I don't do horses. Like, no, that's not a thing I can do. So I drew a robot. So there's my robot. And I kind of like my robot. I think he's pretty cute, actually. I like his head. So she wanted him to have laser eyes, but it's really hard to draw lasers effectively. So he has a laser gun instead. So I drew her a robot, and then I asked for another prompt, and somebody said draw goat, and then I drew a goat, but the goat is kind of, I think he might be demonic. Yeah, he is not just going to like eat your trash; he's also going to eat your soul. So so yeah. I'm not sure that goat portraiture is my forte. He's a little terrifying. Um, yeah, I agree, Alani. He's not my finest work. And then Chandler wanted me to draw the Salzburg Castle, so I drew the Salzburg Castle pretty quickly and not particularly well. My hash marks are kind of a mess there, but Salzburg Castle. So, what is your prompt that you had to do for art today? Do you have one for today? Because maybe I'll draw along with you. That, or if you have something in particular you want me to draw, I will. Just be aware, you might get a demon goat. That is the thing you could have, you could get. You know how it is. Sometimes you're like, it worked in my brain, but then it just didn't work on paper. Oh, and thank you for texting me and letting me know. Yeah. You have to see if she's posted it yet. Yesterday it was draw a pencil sharpener eating something other than a pencil. Ooh. Ooh. Okay. So how do we anthropomorphize a pencil sharpener? I mean, the instinct would be to go carrot, right? Because it's approximately the right shape, and you could see someone putting that in there. What else? What did you have it eat? Yeah, see, the instinct is carrot. Yeah. And I feel like while I appreciate that, it may not be the most innovative. Not that everything has to be innovative necessarily. Let's see here. Let me find a good picture of a pencil sharpener. And then I can work off of that. I can consider what it might eat. Electric pencil sharpener mimic. Yeah. Okay. Pencil sharp. Okay. I don't want to shop. Oh. Well, the old school ones look a lot like meat grinders. That's kind of gross. Hmm. Hmm. Let's see here. What could we do? I don't know. I'll have to come back to the pencil sharpener thing. Let's see here. What other things should I draw today? Not sure. I'm kind of at a bit of a loss. Hmm. I know. Alani, you went with us on the trip last summer, yeah? Where was your favorite place that we went? And I'll try to draw it. I will give it a shot. Switzerland? Any particular part of Switzerland or just like the mountains? Yeah, they were. They were astounding, weren't they? Like, for real, they just kind of like my brain kind of exploded while we were up there. There was something about the light, right? It was just totally different in terms of like the quality of light. I thought was amazing. Yeah. Yeah, I could have just honestly I really wanted to just I kind of wanted to like go to Mr. Ald and be like, y'all can go home if you want, but I'm cool with just staying here forever. All right. If I'm going to do that, I should really do that with pencil. Okay, we'll try that. Marker doesn't really work very well for this, so we'll go with pencil instead. Hey, pencil sharpener. This isn't really the type of pencil sharpener I want for this sort of job, but that's okay. You can't always get what you want. What I really need is my penknife, but my penknife is in my study, so we make do with the tools we have at hand. Yeah? All right, so we will give it a shot. We will try to depict the mountains in Lucerne because that was so beautiful. Okay, this could be disastrous, kid, so just bear with me. Yeah? So let's see here. Did you do anything fun over the weekend? Let's see, feel like I have pictures of them on here. Otherwise, I can just use my background. Maybe not. You play D&D with new college friends and have a oh, that's wonderful. That's so good. So you have a potential roommate. That's really nice. Yeah. Do you are you thinking maybe? I mean, the one thing that I think is really important to remember is that you don't have to be best friends with your roommate. And sometimes that's actually beneficial, because it allows you guys a little bit more ability to say, hey, like, you're driving me a little bit nuts right now, and I need you to back off a little bit. Um, like that can be really beneficial sometimes, just having the ability to be honest about how you feel about stuff is sometimes easier when you're not best friends with your roommate, because when you have that close like friendship associated with people, then things get really complicated really fast, right? It's really hard to say to people, hey, this isn't okay, because you have like an it feels like you have an obligation to be on good terms with them no matter what, which you don't. But yeah, sometimes it's just easier if you're not BFFs with your roommate. I wasn't. She she and I could not have been more different. But we actually, once we established some ground rules and figured out what we could and could not say to each other, and what topics were good for us to discuss and which topics were really, really not. And we both kind of came to an understanding about things that mattered to us. Then we got along okay. We weren't best friends, but we kind of appreciated each other for what we were, and that worked okay for us. So um, I've seen too many people who like room with their best friend and then find out that while they're good friends, they are terrible roommates, and then things go pear shaped really fast, and that's really unfortunate when that happens. So they're nice, and you think you have some common interests. That's always good. Like you don't have to be in each other's back pockets, but it is helpful when you at least understand where each other are coming from. Like my freshman roommate was a music ed major, and while she and I disagreed on practically everything politically, um, I'd been in orchestra in high school, and I really enjoyed music. So kind of like we could talk about what she was doing, and I understood it, and that was something that we could kind of bond over. Which was really nice because there wasn't a whole lot else that we had in common. One of the things that she had to do for her major was she would have to go to um, a certain number of concerts every semester, and it was really it was something that I enjoyed and that she enjoyed, and so I was kind of her concert buddy. She'd be like, hey, I have to go hear another concert today. It's a string quartet playing like experimental, atonal whatever. Nobody else wants to come. You in? I'd be like, sure, I'm down for that. Sounds fascinating. Could be terrible. Let's go. And that was a good point of bonding. So we did that together. We also found that we both really enjoyed, UGA at the time had a really excellent women's gymnastics program. And she and I both really enjoyed going to those meets. So we would buy our tickets together and go to that. So that was kind of our roommate bonding time. That was pretty much the extent of our friendship, and that was okay. That was all right. Um, yeah. So are they interested in the same sort of like academic topics, or do they have the same sort of like pastimes outside of academics? And where are they from? Because are you thinking out of state? I can't remember. outside of academics, and they're out of state. Oh, okay. All right. They have family in Georgia though, so it's not brand new. Oh, okay. All right. So like they have some awareness of like, you can reference things. They won't be totally newbies. That's nice. Although you would be a good roommate for somebody who is new to the area. You would be kind, I think, I hope, and help them figure their way around. So I think, let's see, what does my day look like after I set up your lesson for tomorrow? After I set up the Flipgrid, rather. I think, ooh, I have to set up a meeting with the rest of the people in my department. And I need to enter a few more grades for you guys. Started going in and doing that. I am, again, really sorry that I wasn't able to take care of those earlier this week. The weekend was really just kind of me laying on the couch and being very, very miserable. So there was not a whole lot of grading that occurred, or rather entering of grades, because the grades are already done. But I should be getting that taken care of for you. There are a lot of trees in Switzerland. Yeah, life happens. Yeah, sometimes it does. It is not a pleasant thing when that sort of life happens. Let's see here. What else have I been up to? I've been watching a new Spanish language telenovela, which I am enjoying, although I have notes on the politics about it, man. Um, I've been watching, I can't remember I think it's like Morocco, Love in Times of War or something like that is the English language translation, but I think it's Crónica de una Guerra, I think is the name of it in Spanish. It's a telenovela on Netflix, and it is about the Spanish-Moroccan War, because Spain has colonial holdings and still does in Morocco. They're the autonomous cities. And there was a war that Morocco and Spain fought over them in like 1920, 1921. And it was a really nasty fight. And it kind of was, it's not on the same scale as World War One at all. But it's kind of like Spain's version of World War One, because they were not involved in the world wars. If you remember, they kind of like opted out. They were like, yo, we got other stuff. And it's good in terms of I mean, it's soapy as all get out, because all telenovelas are. That's what you want in a telenovela, is for it to be massively, massively soapy. Um, so everything's really overblown, and like there are long, piercing looks and all sorts of stuff, and it's kind of hilarious. But I really am enjoying it. The problem is that, like, the protagonists are all Spaniards, and I'm supposed to be like sympathetic to them because they're suffering these terrible terrible conditions, and like the main characters are nurses in a hospital and everything, and I'm supposed to be sympathetic towards them, and I suppose I am. But they're making all the bad guys just kind of like caricatures of like swarthy North African Muslims. And I have a real hard time wrapping my head around the fact that this is something that a media production company thought was acceptable in like early 2000s or mid 2000s. I don't know how I feel about it. Like, I'm enjoying it for what it is in terms of it being a telenovela. Yeah. But I don't know how long I can stick with it unless they add to the complexity, unless they like are willing to look at it from an anti-imperialist perspective, like that there's validity in what these people are fighting for. I don't know, man. It seems a bit short-sighted. So yeah, that's kind of where what I've been watching recently. I got into it because I was like, oh, I like this actress who's in it. And, you know, I'm always in the market for another good Spanish language program. And so I kind of got jumped into it before I really kind of thought about the politics involved in it. And now I'm like, might have to back off from this one. I don't know how long I can hang with it. But we shall see. I'm more into my German show that I'm watching right now. But that takes an awful lot of attention. I can't just like put it on in the background. The Spanish language telenovelas, I can do that because I can just kind of listen to it and get it. But I have no German, none. And so I can't just, you know, put it on and sort of have it happen in the background. I have to be engaged with it. And so that one requires a lot more concentration on my part. So that's not like when my brain is dead at the end of the day, that is not the show I put on. And then the other thing that I've been enjoying is on YouTube. I'm a bit of a music geek. Alana, you're in orchestra, right? I feel like you are. I might just be hallucinating. It is a thing that could happen here. But I feel like you're in orchestra. You used to be. What did you play, kiddo? So you used to be in orchestra. Did you play bass? Ah, gotcha. Cool. Bass is an awesome instrument to play. It's just like it's especially when you're in the beginning stages of it, like y'all just get the dum, 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 and there's not a lot of variation to it. But when you get into upper levels, there's some fantastic stuff for you guys. Um, hmm. But yeah, I bet it was. I always loved trying to play the bass, like just feeling the amount of pressure that you used to have to put on those strings. They're just, and the way it kind of vibrated through your hands, that was super awesome. But at any rate, yeah, the other thing that I'm really enjoying right now is I've found uh, a YouTube account that has all of Leonard Bernstein conducting, like these videos from the 1970s that were recorded, I think, mostly in Germany before the reunification. And so I found a playlist of Leonard Bernstein, a lot of short jokes being 5 foot. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, but you know what? Like that doesn't actually really matter all that much. You just like drop the end pin and tilt back, right? And you get a slightly smaller size base. Like, whatever. Um, But at any rate, so I found this playlist of Leonard Bernstein conducting videos from like the 1970s, and he has this. There's this collection of him conducting all of Beethoven's symphonies, and they're just so good. They're so good. Um, I'm a Beethoven nerd, and I will listen to a million versions of them. I have my opinions about them, very strong about which versions are better than others, but Bernstein is always just so good. So right now, I am listening to Leonard Bernstein conducting Beethoven's Ninth, which is a good way to start the day, you know? There's nothing that can't be solved without a little bit of ode de joy, or at least made significantly better. Yesterday, I was listening to a lot of Sibelius, which is big and dramatic and is fun, but isn't necessarily my cup of tea all the time. I was feeling big and dramatic yesterday. So, but today, I guess Beethoven is still big and dramatic, but I also think of Beethoven as kind of like life affirming in a lot of ways. So, Alani, are you going to continue your kind of interest in art, do you think, in college? Because I know you said you're looking into stuff like engineering, but I mean, I suppose there's an artistic component to it, right? Um, because I know you enjoy drawing. I mean, sometimes colleges have really good like extension programs and really fun, just kind of like um, rec league sort of not rec league, but sort of like rec level classes that you can take, or courses, offered through the rec center on like drawing and stuff like that, that aren't for credit, that are just for fun. Or sometimes you can get your sort of breadth credits, like your um, done through art. You might get some art in. It's fun and interesting. Yeah. I did a music appreciation course. No, it wasn't. It was history of was it history of music? I think it might have been. That was a great class, man. That was a lot of fun. Um, and we used to have these listening quizzes where you had to be able to he'd he quite literally we still use records for these because it was easiest for him to do the quizzes that way. He would get out a record with a particular recording on it, and then he would drop the needle on a particular piece by various composers, and we would have to be able to identify who the composer was, what piece was the recording was of, and also what movement. Which, man, let me tell you, that was not an easy class, but it was actually quite a lot of fun. And I came out of there feeling like I knew a heck of a lot more about music than I previously thought I did. Yeah. It's the sort of class where you're like, oh boy, okay, now to learn all of Mozart's symphonies, every single one, every last one, and to be able to identify individual movements to Beethoven, which is why I like him so much. I have very strong feelings about the tempo markings in Beethoven. Like, I saw a recording of Beethoven's Ninth done by, oh, it wasn't the Berlin Philharmonica because they're excellent. I can't remember who it was. But this guy, man, he took the tempo so slow. I was like, what are you doing? Beethoven's tempo markings are notoriously fast. Like, I mean, I suppose I understand why, because most people think so. Like, the metronome was invented after Beethoven lost his hearing. And so, what he did was when he went deaf, the metronome had just been invented. He went back and added in tempo markings to all of his previous work. Which meant that therefore he had never heard those symphonies being played at that speed. So a lot of people look at the tempo markings in Beethoven and they're like, these are so fast. You can't do that. He's wrong. But I'm kind of the opinion that, like, Beethoven was a freaking genius, and he wrote the Ninth without ever hearing it. It's not like he didn't know what tempos sounded like, and that he couldn't hear them in his head. So some conductors choose to use slower tempos in Beethoven's work because he never actually heard the tempos done the way he described them. I just think that's ridiculous. So I tend to think that Beethoven knew what he was doing, and we should play it like that. So I get really upset whenever I hear tempos being played in Beethoven that slowly. I'm like, this is incorrect. You're doing it wrong. It's like someone being wrong on the internet, right? Okay. It's why Beethoven is so freaking hard to play so often, is because if you play it according to the markings, the tempos are just so fast that people, like, their fingers fall apart. That's why it's such complicated music. I really want there to be a better movie about Beethoven because he's a fascinating guy. There's a pretty meh movie about him called Immortal Beloved. I'm not entirely that one came out in like the late 90s, I think. I'm not a fan. But he's pretty fascinating. There is a really great movie about Mozart that I recommend called Amadeus. And it was up for Best Picture, I believe, in the 1980s. It's really good. It's about essentially like the last years of Mozart's life and his rivalry with the composer Salieri, and ultimately leading up to Mozart's death, which is really sad and very, very tragic. It's pretty fascinating. I totally recommend it. It's a good watch. It makes Mozart feel really contemporary and very, very fresh, which I think for some people feels really weird to think that Mozart is like a contemporary sort of figure. But I mean, considering when and what he was doing, I mean, the man was a rock star for real. Well, Lonnie, this one might take me a little bit, but I'll get there. I'm slowly building in the base of it. Problem is that you can't really do like a quick sketch. This was my issue when we were actually up in the Alps. Like, I tried to do a sketch in the Alps, but the issue is the light. Like it's a hard one to do. I'm working on it. Gonna have to go back in and build layers and layers and layers, but that's okay. So this is what we are going for ultimately. Without color though. That's what we're going for. It's gonna take me a bit though. So far, I have the foreground. I have the trees. Next, the issue is that I don't have, I could go get them. It's not like they're on the other side of the world. Over the summer, they in fact were on the other side of the world, so I just kind of had to deal with it. I'm only using, right now I'm using an HB, and is this a 6? Maybe a 4. Yeah, but I've really just got an HB, and then I think it's B4, right? Because the H's are hard. But so I don't have a lot of variety in terms of the hardness and softness of lead right now. So I'm just kind of having to build up layers. Alani, what's your favorite medium to work with? I wish I were better at painting, but I'm really, really not. I have pretty decent motor control when it comes to things like pens and pencils, but my motor control when it comes to putting paint on a canvas or on paper is just not as good. Everyone says, well, if you practice more, you'll get better at it. And I suppose that's true, but like paint is also messier and it takes so much more time to kind of like set up. Use basic pencil in a sketchbook. And if you want more, what do you do for digital? I've always been really interested in it. And I don't know how I'd react to. There's a guy at a coffee shop that I usually go to grade. I miss it. And he and I have talked a lot about. He does a lot of digital drawing while I'm there, sometimes, and he and I were talking about art once, and he does like sketching on a tablet, and he says he has a tablet that it's like paper touch and it has the same sort of feel to it and it picks up the difference in terms of the pressure that you're putting on the stylus, and it kind of picks up the same sort of difference in terms of the way that you move the pencil, and that kind of appeals to me, but I don't know. You have a free app on your phone with Procreate. Yeah, so I don't know. I just feel like I wouldn't have the same control, and I don't know if I'd be I mean, like, there's so many cool things you can do with digital art. There's some really cool stuff, and I'm not one of those people who's like, "No, it's not art." It's absolutely art, and it's really hard to do. I just don't have enough familiarity with the material to be able to, like, be like, "Yeah, I could do that." Um, I don't know, man. Okay. It's insane. Sometimes I see stuff that people do and I'm just astounded. Um, like, I can't tell the difference between that and a photograph. Like, how did you do that? Or, where you look at it and you're like, how is that not charcoal? It looks and it has the same textural appearance to it. Like, that's astounding. Like, that sort of stuff is just out there. Amazing. It's coming along. It's starting to look something Alpine-esque. Slowly. I may have done this backwards. Problem is I tend to drag my hand, and in pencil, I do have a fixative I could always spray it with. But yeah, when I start moving further back here, I'm afraid I'm going to smear. Well, it might be time for a fixative in a bit. Okay, next peek. What's funny is that this pencil sharpener is actually a pencil sharpener from Germany because I traveled all the way to Europe without a pencil sharpener. And by the time we got to Germany, my pencils were pretty much worn down to nubs. And I was having a heck of a time getting any sort of image out of them. And so when we were in Bavaria, do you remember? It was raining that morning when they dropped us off, and we had enough time to go to lunch. And then by the time lunch was over, the storm had passed, and it was quite lovely. It was that place in Bavaria on the lake, and I kind of set some of the people on our bus a bit of a mission. I was like, all right, if you happen to see a pencil sharpener, do me a favor, buy it for me, and I will pay you back. Because I desperately, you went to go find it. Was it this one? Because I got like 3 of them. And I so appreciated it, guys. Like, I have like 3 pencil sharpeners now as a result. Mm-hmm. It was really great. It was not something that I had thought to pack. I'm usually a pretty good packer about thinking about what I need and what other people might need and stuff like that, especially when I'm chaperoning for people. I'm pretty good at always having enough Band-Aids, usually. Last time there were a few more Band-Aids needed for poor footwear choices than I usually have an issue with. But that was a shortfall on my part. Usually I'm better about predicting what the Band-Aid need will be. You were one of them. one of the pencil sharpener things, or one of the Band-Aid need groups. Although I will tell you, like, none of your Band-Aid needs can ever match what happened in Paris and in Spain once. Not that anyone got badly injured. It wasn't anything like that. It was just terrible footwear choice, and both. Yeah, it was just terrible footwear choice that led to the Band-Aid need. Someone only brought 1 pair of shoes with them on the whole trip, which meant, and they were Chucks. They were just, all-star Converse. Which, hey, I love Chucks, but they are not great walk-in shoes because they have no support. And they were a little bit too small for this student's feet. So they rubbed badly, and we walked more on that particular trip in Paris and in Spain than I think we have ever walked. Well, maybe, I mean, we walked a heck of a lot in Vienna this time. But like we walked an insane amount in Spain and in Paris, and it was so hot, and this poor girl's feet just got torn to shreds. And she was in my group, and she, like, I saw her limping. I was like, "You okay?" And she goes, "I'm fine." I was like, "I don't think you're fine. You're limping on me, honey. What's the deal?" And finally, I got her to take off her shoes, and she had this massive blood blister. Oh my God, it was terrible. Was the worst. It was so gross. Like, Mr. Ald still kind of gets like verklempt when he talks about it. He's like, it was the worst. We're in Madrid, in Spain, outside of the Prado Art Museum, and I'm basically doing like surgery on this girl's foot. Not really, but cleaning it up and like bandaging it up and everything, because it is just a disaster. And he was so grossed out. I think that's why he invites me on those trips, because he knows I can handle the blisters. It was maybe the gnarliest I've ever seen in my life. It was something else. We're lucky she didn't get infected, because she hadn't told us about it. And those sort of things, if you don't take care of them and keep them clean and dry, and be really cognizant about like how you're treating them, like they can go bad. So we were very lucky that she owned up to it fast enough for us to be able to sort of treat it. Yeah. Would have been better had she told us first, faster than what she did. But I get it. She didn't want to whine, but like, there's a reason Mr. Ald is like, you tell us, like, if there's bad stuff going on, like, even if it's embarrassing bad stuff, and it's like your stomach is really upset and bad things are happening. You got to let us know. We can't find out about that like 3 days after it started. Yeah. But so we took care of the blisters. It was deeply unpleasant. No one enjoyed it. Definitely not me. Definitely not her. It was not fun. And then when everybody else went back to the hotel that night, she and I went on a mission. Yeah, or rather, she slowly limped along, and I went on a mission to buy her flip flops. I was like, "We have to get you a change of shoes. Like, you cannot keep wearing the ones that are tearing your feet apart. And I know you can't walk like, 8 miles in flip flops without doing serious damage to your feet, but you also like cannot be wearing the same shoes that are doing this to your feet, and expect your feet to heal. Like, that is just not going to happen." So we had to go on a flip flop mission. We have had to go on a lot of weird missions on our trips. Let's see here. Yeah, whenever you guys are like, this is terrible, I've never had to do, like, yeah, we've had to do it before. Chances are, whatever emergency you have come up with is not one that is that we are unaware of. Getting there. So, Lonnie, when you draw, do you do mostly with a photo reference or without? Because I'm very much a I need to see it in front of me sort of person in terms of being able to replicate it. I am not really great at just creating from my brain. It doesn't really work like that for me. Photo reference for sure. Yeah. Yeah. I'm astounded by people who can manage to do stuff without having the reference in front of them. It's just not how my brain works. Like Grace. Grace is astoundingly good. I so enjoy watching her draw. It's getting a little better. I'm still gonna have to go back and darken those trees up front. Better? Worse? Can't tell. Not sure. It's one of those things, right? Where as you're working through a piece, you're like, I don't know if I've just made it worse or if I've made it better. Looks good to you? There we go. sitting still too long. I'm still not used to this, man. I'm used to being up and moving in the classroom most of the day. And as much as I would love to, like, part of me is like, I need to make more points of going out and enjoying the beautiful weather, and like going out and taking some nice walks. And as much as I really want to do that, um, every time I do, my allergies just go out of control, which is really frustrating because I very much would love to be able to enjoy this weather to a greater degree, but it's just horrific in terms of my allergies. So what I need is for the allergy, like the pollen, to stop so I can go out and enjoy the sunshine more. It's like yesterday, I went outside and I sat and I kind of chilled for a little while. And then I came in and kept coughing and sneezing. And I was like, well, that's why I don't do that. It is the worst. Do you get them bad as well? Yeah. They're just miserable. It's one of those things where you're like, yes, I would very much love to go on a, long walk or whatever, but alas, not unless I want to spend the next 2 days just coughing and sneezing. And even when I take my allergy meds, I mean, they help, but they don't make it go away. All right, Alani, I am going to call it for the day. Okay. So here's what I finished for you so far. I'll see if I can finish it for you entirely by tomorrow. Okay. But I will see you tomorrow, and let me know if you have any questions about the work for today. Okay. See you later.